live. You see they're dry. You see there's no marrow in the bone. You see they're scattered all over the valley. They ain't even full skeletons. I mean, the bones are scattered all over the valley. They're just bones. But answer me a question, Ezekiel. Can these bones live? Ezekiel answers the only way he knows how to answer. Lord, you know. Critical race theory was born out of critical legal theory. Am I teaching y'all something today? There emerged two common beliefs linking all critical race theories. First, white supremacy has subordinated black people and other people of color. That's just a fact. How in the world are you going to fight against that being taught in any school? White supremacy has subordinated black people and other people of color. That's a fact. Why don't you want that to be taught in school? You let your schools teach us that Columbus discovered America. That's a lie. You let your schools teach us that George Washington couldn't tell a lie. That's a lie. You let your schools teach us that some slave owners were beneficent and good slave owners. There were no good slave owners. Anybody who owned people was evil. That's a lie. You let your schools teach us that Abraham Lincoln was good for Negroes. No, Abraham Lincoln was trying to save the Union. And Abe Lincoln himself said if he could save the Union and keep black people in chains, he would do it. That's a lie. Come on, somebody. You let them teach us about a white Jesus. You let them teach us that Native Americans were the aggressors. Come on, somebody. That white folk had a manifest destiny and that the Pilgrims were good at Native Americans. That's a lie. All day, every day, you let them teach us lies. All throughout my history in school, I was taught lies. But you got a problem with critical race theory because it teaches the truth that white supremacy has subordinated black people and people of color. The right to bear arms. Let me just back up a little bit and let me take you on back to the late 1960s when Ronald Reagan was the governor of California. And they were oppressing black folk, and a group of men and women known as the Black Panther Party decided that they were going to defend the rights of black folk. And the Black Panthers decided that the Second Amendment wasn't just for white folk. So they strapped themselves with guns and showed up at the Capitol in California. And when they saw them Negroes with guns, come on, somebody. That's why I say if you ever really want to get gun laws changed, just strap all these Negroes up. They'll change them laws before the week is over. When the Black Panthers, watch this, I want you to read, the California legislator passed what was called the Mulford Act. It was a gun control act that decided who could get guns, who couldn't get guns, what could be in your background, what couldn't be in your background. It was the first time in history that the National Rifle Association, the NRA, supported restrictive gun legislation, all because black folk had the nerve to get strapped. Look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, go get strapped. Amen, somebody. Y'all gonna say Bishop told us to get strapped. I said it. Go get strapped. It just got real quiet up in here. But y'all already know I'm a triple P. Amen. Y'all know what a triple P is, right? A pistol packing preacher. Amen, somebody. Hey, family, what's going on with y'all today? I pray all is well. Do me a favor, like, share, subscribe. Tell somebody Bishop is on the air right now. Let's get it. If you want to hear the music in the beginning part of this program, you need to go to WTCCFM.org. You can go to TuneIn Radio. You can go to what's the other one? iHeart. All of those. Certain stuff I can't play over Facebook because it'll shut down my live stream. They be tripping. So we'll get to some music that we can play without it being a problem. But I can't play my Coltrane and the jazz stuff that we play on Fridays without them tripping. So it is what it is. Let's get it. Let's go. Like, share, subscribe. Rep your city, rep your town. Try to get my Instagrammers up in here. Get my grammars up in here. All right, peace to the gram. Let's go. Let's get it. All right. We's ready to go. It's Friday. TGIF. Thank God it's Friday. Yes. It's the end of the week. It's a long weekend for some of y'all. So enjoy it. Weather's not all that great right now, but it's fall. So it is what it is. All right, we got the gram up in place. Yes. The rhythm, the rebel. I don't know where that Public Enemy came from. 50 years of hip hop, I guess. All right, let's go, y'all. I can turn the music up a little bit now. Talk to me, Daddy. Talk to me, Daddy. Talk to me, Daddy. Talk to me. All right. Toronto in the building. Good morning, Toronto. Attitude is a little thing that makes a big difference. Every day you get up, Toronto's on the gram. Where y'all at? Facebook. I see you, Houston. Always representing. Today is a gift. So don't let the pain of your past bleed into your present and poison your future. Stop replaying the movie. Why did this happen to me? When it's done with you, be done with it. If it seems like you keep running into pigeons, it's an indication that you're flying too low. So set your sights a little higher. Remember, eagles fly by themselves. If you can see the invisible, you can do the impossible. Allow your challenges to be a stepping stone to propel you into new possibilities. So be discontent with your past accomplishment. You're only as great as your last success. So maintain your hunger and your passion. Remember this, within every seed there is a tree. In every tree there is a forest. Doing what you were born into is simply the environment to prepare you for your ultimate purpose. It was not a setback, it was a setup. Your purpose and potential is bigger than your past pain or problem. Dedicate to you. Listen to your heart, don't let your mind fool you. You gotta talk.
Dedicated to you. Whatever you do is gonna surely come back to you.
Successful people will do the things they hate to get the things they love.
All right, where y'all at now?
Sacrifice. You got to give up something to get something.
Delaware.
What you've accomplished, but it's what you have.
All right.
For it's the test that you pass in life which qualifies you for the next level.
Greenville.
You have to be willing to face your challenges.
South Kakalaki.
Most people drive 12,000 miles a year moving forward, but most accidents are caused when they move backwards. You gotta stay focused on what's ahead of you instead of what's behind you. It's your daily routine that determines your success or failure. Whatever you practice at is what you become great at. What's more important than being intelligent is having the right attitude.
Having the right attitude.
It will cost you nothing, but it will cost you everything not to have it. So don't be too smart for your own good. Remember, a hard head makes a
soft behind, y'all. 90.7 WTCC. Good morning and welcome to the Spoken Word. I'm sorry, the Black Love Experience. I'm still getting my Mondays and Fridays mixed up. It is Friday, TGIF. Welcome to the Black Love Experience. And welcome to the weekend. Good morning to everybody in the Pioneer Valley who are listening over our 4,000 watts here at WTCC FM, WTCC HD. Welcome to you. And to all of you who are listening over various apps, WTCC FM, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, wherever you're listening from. And those of you who are listening over the internet on our social media platforms, welcome Facebook, welcome Twitter, welcome YouTube, welcome Instagram, welcome everybody who's tuned in on this Friday morning. Welcomes. Good to be back with you on another Friday edition. Wasn't with you last Friday, but I was here this Friday. Today we're talking about the Black violence lie, the lie that continues over and over again about most of the crime in America committed by Black people, yada, 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 yada. And, you know, we have started parroting this narrative ourselves. I was at a conference on the Black Church and Religious Freedom at the University of Notre Dame last week. There were several panels, and I won't say to my surprise, but there were Black people on the panel who were parroting that same narrative. There was one gentleman who was talking about, we get up in arms when Black people get killed by the police, but we don't say nothing about Black on Black violence. We ain't marching about Black on Black. You know, and then there was another panelist who was parroting the same lies about critical race theory and wokeism and all. He sounded like a Black Ron DeSantis. And we got our people who are now pushing the narrative of our oppressors, trying to make us think that in the irony of it, trying to make us think in a nation that was founded on spilling the blood of indigenous people, Black people, African people, non-white people, that was built on the slave labor of Black people, that was built on rape and murder, brutalization and dehumanization, all by white folks, that somehow Black people are the most violent folks in the nation. Only in America do they push that kind of lie that denies everything that history has succinctly narrated to us, that will deny the empirical evidence of the millions of bodies that lay at the feet of white folks. 55 million Africans, 30 million indigenous people that will deny the body count that this nation is guilty of taking, and then tell those that it victimized that you're the problem with violence. Boy. Anyway, we're going to talk about it. 413-736-2781. 413-736-2781. Tell a friend, tell somebody Bishop is on the air right now. Don't y'all go nowhere. We'll be right back.
I look in the mirror and I like what I see. A strong, beautiful black woman staring back at me. One who's seen a lot of pain and had her share of sorrow, but who never gave up hope for a brighter tomorrow. I've been lied to, cheated on, stolen from and hit, but it just made me stronger and I refuse to quit. That's right. And though I've been tempted, I refuse to stoop to their level. I rose above that nonsense.
Made a liar of the devil.
The devil who said I wasn't good enough, cute enough,
or worthy of love.
I kicked his butt with divine power from above. Power that says I can do all things through Christ, which strengthens me and brought me out of darkness so that I could see that I'm smart, I'm beautiful, I'm a child of the King. Abundant love for me.
He came to be. Oh, yes.
When I look in the mirror, I love what I see. That strong, beautiful black woman, that woman is me.
90.7 WTCC. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning to each and every one of you in the Pioneer Valley. Everybody who's chiming in from everywhere. Welcome to the Black Love Experience, another Friday edition. You can also listen to us on Mondays on the spoken word as well. I give you a double dose, all week long. Okay. I'll be on Monday and then come to Friday. Tune in. 413-736-2781. Rep your city, rep your town. Houston is always deep in the house. The 413 is in the house. There's another H-Town. Y'all always in here. Thank you, H-Town. Greenville, South Carolina is in here. Rehoboth Beach, Delaware is up in the building. Toronto's rolling with us on the gram. Where y'all at, Graham? Where else y'all coming in from? Johannesburg. Say, what's the word? Johannesburg. Kansas City. Jonesboro, Arkansas. They tell me that Arkansas is the only state mentioned in the Bible. Noah looked out of the ark and saw. Yeah, that's what they tell me. 413-736-2781. Quebec, Canada is up in the building. California, the whole state of California is in the building. Charlotte, North Carolina. Rep your city, rep your town. Let me know where you are chiming in from. Good morning to each and every one of you that are rolling with us on this Friday morning. Talking about the myth of black violence, the narrative that they continue to push, the 1350 lie that they keep promulgating over and over. And here's the thing, I guess they think that if you repeat a lie often enough, it turns into the truth. But the reality is, if you repeat a lie often enough, you just start believing the lie. That's all. It doesn't make it come true. And that's what white America has done. They have repeated the lie so often that they believe it. California in the house again. Y'all just be repping the whole state. Like, it ain't a city in California. Y'all just representing the whole state. That's okay. That's all right. You want to represent the whole state? Go right ahead. 413-736-2781 is the number here. And it's amazing how a people whose ancestors have been so violent historically, how they try to spin the narrative and rewrite the history and make those that they have victimized into the ones that have inherent issues of violence and destruction. It's gaslighting on steroids. Gaslighting. And that's what they specialize in, gaslighting. It's like, when they tell you slavery gave our ancestors marketable skills. So it wasn't a bad thing. Gave y'all a skill set so you can get a job. Where? On the plantation? That's gaslighting, y'all. I mean, they say the crazy. I see you, Pennsauken, New Jersey. They say the craziest things and they pee on you and tell you it's raining. Like you're supposed to believe it. Yeah, slavery gave you marketable skills so you can put in your resume to Master Jones's plantation. This is the stuff that they do. Tell you stuff that could not be anywhere near the truth and expect you to buy it hook, line, and sinker. There was a white evangelical preacher. Let me play this clown. And I don't. There's no way that they can actually believe the stuff that they be saying. I just refuse to believe that they actually believe it. And if they don't believe it, the problem is they think we're dumb enough to buy into it. And this is the kind of stuff that goes on. And that's why I say, I often say white evangelical Christianity is nothing but white supremacy in drag. I used to say in drag. Now I just say it's just plain old white supremacy. It's one and the same. It's synonymous. You can say white supremacy, you can say white evangelicalism, white Christianity. It's all the same. Listen to this dude. And this is stuff that goes on in white churches all of the time. And according to this guy, there were black people in the church listening to this stuff. And my question is to black people, how do you sit through this? How do you sit? First of all, let me let you listen to it, and then you tell me if your cousin and them would be sitting up in this church.
Over into slavery, which wasn't right, but they got the gospel when they got here. And you know what? I bet you there's a lot of Africans that if they hadn't have been brought over, not saying it was right, don't misunderstand, not justifying the slavery in the situation, but God, I still believe, used it. And now I'm sure there's a lot of Africans that got the gospel and they're in heaven right now because they got the gospel. You know, what would be better for them to have lived their entire life in Africa free, doing their voodoo or whatever, and then dying and going to hell, right? Or what happened? And then they go to heaven. They get the opportunity. Now, again, it doesn't justify it. The ends do not justify the means, but this is how God works. This is what God does in the Bible. And we have black people in here. I don't think any of you guys were ever slaves. I was never a slave. It's like, white privilege. You were never a slave. You were never living during the time, unless you're very old, like 60 or 70 maybe, or 80 years old, you're never even living during the time where segregation was a thing in this country. I mean, what are you crying about? Nothing even happened to you. You're just making up stuff. You can't look at the facts that I was reading and just attribute that to some kind of white privilege. It's not real. Get over it. Quit having all the excuses. Why don't you take some responsibility for your choices? Be content with whatever situation you were born into and make the most of it. God's not limited to your situation. He can do above, what we ask for things.
Ain't no way in Hades. No way in Hades. I sit there in church and be scolded by this non-melanated cretin telling me ain't nothing happened to you, get over it, you making it up, yada yada yada. Ain't no way in the you didn't hear one peep out of the audience. If there were black people sitting there listening to that junk, shame on them. Shame on you for sitting under that kind of leadership in the first place. And shame on you for not walking out. I'd have had some choice words to say to him before I walked out. But yeah, this is the stuff. This is the stuff, y'all. This is the craziness that we have to listen to on top of dealing with the trauma that we go through in America. So they have promulgated this argument, and black people have taken it. Your Candace Owenses, your Jason Whitlocks, that ilk of folk. And like I said, at the conference I was at last week, there were several panelists that were parroting this whole narrative, this overused and underanalyzed conservative talking point that basically aids in perpetuating lies about black people and casting an unfounded presumption of guilt onto us. It's what allows white folks to feel that anytime a cop extrajudiciously takes the life of a black person, that it was justified because black people are so inherently violent that he had to fear for his life. I can understand why he was scared, why he pulled his gun out and shot an unarmed black person, because y'all are inherently violent and we fear for our lives when we see you. This argument has endangered the lives of black people and has desensitized white America to the brutalization of black bodies. It's an argument that proposes that while we only make up a small percentage of the population, we commit most of all of the crime. And how many white folks do you hear parrot that narrative? It's not just your Charlie Kirks and, these high-profile conservative white cretins. It's the folk on your job, your next-door neighbors, and the clerks in the grocery stores. These white folks all over America parrot this same narrative and use it to justify the subjugation of black people. They use it to justify when the Karen in Starbucks calls the cop on a black man because he's sitting at the table. Because it's a big black man, he's probably violent. It's this narrative of inherent black violence that they use to justify their behavior toward us. And there's no concrete evidence, in this argument. This argument fails to examine the socioeconomic conditions that contribute to crime in our community. The correlation between crime and poverty. They derive this statistic out of the air because even the stats that they publish don't even say that. Don't even say that. They conflate the argument. And the reality is, when referring to all known crime, according to their FBI source, black people account for only 26% of the arrests that are made. Nowhere near the 50% that they keep pushing. According to their statistics, white folks commit 70% of all violent crime in America. That's according to FBI stats. Y'all can look it up. And out of that 70%, 65% of it is white males who are undoubtedly, empirically, the most violent people in America. White men. And they have been the most violent people on the globe throughout history. That's a fact. But then they want to flip the narrative and make it about us so they can justify the continued brutalization of black bodies over and over and over again. M1, let you talk early.
Hello, good afternoon, Bishop Son.
Yes.
So I'm from the UK, and let me tell you when I knew that these people, they're gonna find any way to discredit black people and try to blame us for everything. So in the UK, the black people here happen to outperform their white counterparts in terms of medication. So all the white supremacists in England, what they now do is they find clips of black people in America committing crimes, and then they keep saying that, oh, these black people are inherently violent, when they don't have those issues with black people over here in the UK. So I'm going to say this, no matter what we do right in society, these people are always going to find a way to blame us for something, because in the UK, we're very law abiding, and it's the same thing for the black people. So I mean, the USA, and what people will talk about is that black people in America make up 60% of all exonerations for all crimes.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that this 30-50 stuff is only going to get worse, is because of the owner of Twitter, Elon Musk, is currently engaging with accounts that are literally spewing all the stats. He's literally engaging with a lot of accounts that are actually saying black people genetically got lower IQs.
Yeah.
I'm being very, very serious. He's been engaging with the most racist accounts I see every single day, the most anti-black accounts. He literally engages with some account called End Wokeness, which calls all black people criminals. And when I knew these people were actually stupid was, why don't they call out sex crimes? It's because they actually know that.
They don't call out sex crimes. They don't call out sex crimes because 75% of sex crimes, particularly the molestation of children, are by white men. So they're not going to call out that at all. At all. And the data here, there are all kinds of flaws even in the data, because the data talks about arrests made. It doesn't talk about convictions. And even then, the crime statistics admits that the statistics rely on voluntary reports from law enforcement. Voluntary reports. Nobody goes in and double checks those reports. Nobody checks the validity of those reports. So these racist police departments can report to the FBI whatever they want to report. And law enforcement agencies have consistently proven to be biased against black people. Okay? For example, when the Department of Justice conducted an investigation into policing in Ferguson, Missouri, after the murder of Mike Brown and all of that, they found what they called substantial evidence of racial bias amongst the police and the court staff. when they came here to our city in Springfield, Massachusetts, they found substantial evidence of bias against Black and brown communities here in our city. And they don't want to mention the real stats, because if you all are going to talk about a Black on Black crime, which is a misnomer, crimes are actions of proximity. Yes, most Black people that are murdered by Black people, 90%. But did you know that 88% of white people that are murdered by white people? 89% of Asians that are murdered by Asians. 90% of Latinos that are murdered by Latinos. The statistics are pretty constant across the board. But y'all never hear folks say white on white crime, Latino on Latino crime, Asian on Asian crime, Native American on Native American crime. But there's this narrative of Black on Black crime because America is anti-Black, both amongst the white community and amongst the other so-called communities of color. There's a high instance of anti-Blackness in Asian communities, in Latino communities, in Native American communities. That's just a fact. So the term Black on Black crime has been coined, but that term is not used in any other community. Now, according to the FBI statistics, you can go to ucr.fbi.gov and look them up yourself. White people commit 69.6%, nearly 70% of all crimes. So this whole thing about you're 13% of the population, you commit over 50% of the crime, that math ain't mathing. The math don't math. According to the FBI that you depend on for these stats, they say 69.6% of all crimes are committed by white people. You can't have white people commit 69.6% of all crimes and Black people commit over 50%, because 69.6 and 50 takes you way over 100%. The math ain't mathing. It's a false narrative, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, once again, you can go look it up. ucr.fbi.gov. You can look it up right now. Not only is 69.6% of all crimes committed by white folks, 67.6% of rapes, almost 70% of all rape cases are white folks. 62.8% of aggravated assault. 68.4% of burglaries. Y'all clutch in your purse when you see a Black man go by, but nearly 70% of people who rob folks are white folks. These are the FBI stats. 72% of all sex offenses. 72%, mostly white men. 71% of drug abuse violations, white folks. 82% of all DUIs, white folks. And the list goes on and on. So how do we look at these stats that are right there for you all to see in black and white, according to the FBI? And it's not that I'm giving an endorsement of the FBI, but these are the stats that they want to refer to. According to the FBI, non-melanated people are committing the vast majority of all these crimes. So how do you come up with a narrative that black people are the criminal element in America when your own statistics don't even bear that out? So these are just blatant racist lies used to promulgate a narrative that justifies the brutalization of black bodies. blatant lies. Brother Walker, you're in the space.
Good morning, Bishop. How you doing?
Good, you?
I'm doing well. What you're talking about? First of all, thanks for putting that data out for your audience. But what you're talking about is the power of narrative and the power of a media that's invested in a narrative. As you said, nobody black controls news and controls the media in America. And the dominant society, I don't call it white supremacists because there's nothing supreme about a lot of these people. They're just dominant when it comes to violence and psychological manipulation. If you are in control of the media, you can make anybody believe whatever you want, and you can make statistics dance. And we know that these people are not invested in giving everybody a full picture and full context of crime in America. We know that the black boogeyman narrative sells. We know that black crime is something that brings in ratings for people, even in local and state news. And we know that it's really easy to get people to invest in the idea of the criminal black male roaming the streets looking for a victim, because again, people are already invested in that narrative. I think what has to happen is we have to be able to counter that narrative with the truth, and we have to be able to provide alternative sources of information and media to get people different ideas and get people to understand what the full picture of that data looks like. And I don't have the answer to that because you're up against a machine that has billions of dollars to sell a narrative. So the only way to push back against that is to be able to create our own and do it that way. And we have to do that. And I'll land.
All right. Appreciate you. Absolutely. Facts. And which is why it's so important that we support alternative black media, where we can tell our own stories, where we can spin that narrative. When we have brothers like Brother Walker and others that are out here countering the dominant narrative, we need to be able to support them so that our people will have the facts, because we have his story, not the real story. Let me get Amia Hampton in the building. You got the mic, Amia. Good morning.
Good morning, Bishop.
How are you?
TGIF. I'm doing good. How you doing?
Good.
Good. To your title, though, the Black violence lie is continued because, like you stated, their white evangelical Christian faith states this. That disgusting clip that you played says it all. They believe that they are the gatekeepers of heaven. And only through their white Christian faith will they get to heaven, or will we get to heaven. But how can I trust a person that has a history of rape, bestiality, incest, torture, lynching, demonic acts to gatekeep nothing but the gates of hell? And also, if you are a Black American person that's parroting this lie, then you need to look around you and see who are these European non-melanated allies you have around you, because they have infested you with their religion. And you have a good day.
All right. The doors of the church are open. The doors of the church are open. Slat. You got the mic. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for letting me talk. I just wanted to bring up a point about what's happening with Twitter and all these black violence videos. It's not random. So sometime around last year, Peter Thiel, he's like a billionaire. He's the best friend of Elon, and so they were talking on their podcast, right? Peter Thiel was talking about how you need to highlight the crimes in the big cities, quote unquote. And so he's the main guy who's funding he's the main guy funding Richard Hanania. That's the guy on here that's always talking about IQ. He had a fellowship at UT Austin, so he's not just like a random person, right? So a lot of this stuff is being funded by billionaires, especially Peter Thiel and a lot of these PayPal mafia guys, like Peter Thiel, David Sachs, the Indian guy named Chamath, him as well. And And basically, their whole goal at the end of the day is to recreate Silicon Valley across multiple American cities. I don't know if you've been to Silicon Valley or the Bay Area, but most of the people there are like black folks there are homeless. So they're trying to have like a zero tolerance policy for homeless people, or it's just very dystopian, and that's their goal. And a lot of these crime videos are meant to desensitize people to Black American. But yeah, he's Peter Thiel's the guy behind a lot of it. I know someone said it's white evangelicals. Yeah, but it's mostly the tech bros like Peter Thiel, David Sachs. They're the main guys funding Hanania and all these like and wokeness pages.
Yeah. Appreciate your call. 413-736-2781 for those who are trying to get in on the telephone lines. We'll have the phone lines opened up. Matter of fact, let me go to the telephone. Good morning, caller. You're on the air. Good morning, caller. Going once. All right. Let me go to another. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Bishop.
How are you?
Perfect. This is the perfect topic for this time that we're living in, because in this world, everyone is worried about what people think. Black people are worried about what they're saying, their narrative. But when we have God in us, inside us, it doesn't matter. We know what God's plan is. We know that people are going to despise and reject us. So we are those dry bones, like it said in the Bible. Son of man, can these bones live, in Ezekiel 37:3. So he told Ezekiel, prophesy to those dry bones. And we're the dry bones. And we're going to rise up and get life into us by him prophesying. So we can live in truth, because we know the narrative that has been portrayed about Black people in America. And it's all lies, like you have said.
All right. I appreciate you.
And that's what gets us stronger. It keeps us stronger. Thank you, Bishop.
All right. Appreciate your call. 413-736-2781 is the phone number for those who want to chime in via telephone. Let me bring up Wesley. Wesley's a good name. That's my middle name. Wesley, you got the microphone. Wesley is connecting. There we go. Good morning.
Hello?
Good morning, Wesley.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, hi, this is Wesley. I'm calling from South Africa.
Yes, good morning, Wesley.
Okay, so what I want to talk about is this whole idea that there's Black violence. I want to say that it's a myth, because when we look throughout history, the most violent people have been European. For example, in World War I, 15 million people died, and the Europeans were the perpetrators of World War I. When we look at World War II, 63 million people died, and the Europeans were the perpetrators of World War II. In the Korean War and in the Vietnam War, 6 million people died, and the Europeans were involved in these wars. So when we look at history, there's a pattern here. And this pattern is that there's European violence, and this violence is being perpetrated against people who are not white, Africans, Asians, etc. So when people talk about Black violence, they actually talk about something that's not even real, because the most violent people in human history is Europeans, and that also includes European Americans and Europeans who live on the European continent. Even today, there's a war going on in Ukraine, instigated by the Russians. The Russians are Europeans, and they are fighting the Ukrainians, who are also Europeans. So we see white on white violence. Yeah. But when people talk about the Ukraine war, they don't call it white on white violence.
There you go.
Right? So we see the hypocrisy of European mentality, that the Europeans as a group, they're a very violent group of people, and they like to lie. What they do is that they tend to portray Africans as if we're the ones who are violent. You see this in the movies. We see this here on Twitter. They tend to post like videos of rioting and BLM and all of that sort of thing. So basically what I'm trying to say is that Europeans are the most violent people on the planet, history has shown that they are a very aggressive group of people, and as long as they are on the planet, I don't think that we have peace as humanity. Thank you.
All right. The doors of the church are open because the brother was preaching. The doors of the church are open. Yeah, the war in Ukraine, that's white on white violence happening in Europe right now. And America is funding it. America has spent over $100 billion on the Ukraine war, but they can't pay reparations to black people. Let's go to the phone line. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
One more comment about the Europeans. They have shown us on January 6th who the most violent people are.
Oop, there it is.
All over the news. So we know. Who knows the narrative? We know it. It's flipped. It's flipped. They try to flip it on the innocent, but the guilty came out on January 6th.
All right. Oop, there it is. January 6th, right in your face. Yeah, America has spent $100 billion on Ukraine. Now, let's, if you do a cursory walk through history, when you look at the conflict that was in Rwanda, America sat idly by and watched 1 million Rwandans get slaughtered and never intervened, never did a thing. America watched Boko Haram and other organizations slaughter black women and girls, never did a thing. Yet somehow when white folks in Europe are in trouble, America puts on its Superman cape and starts sending billions of dollars. Not only did they send over $100 billion to Ukraine, but America spent billions of dollars to bring Ukrainian refugees to America and to house them in America and to provide them with resources, places to live, food, resources, jobs. The Peace Corps put out a warning to black volunteers that Ukrainian refugees were racist and that black volunteers could potentially be in danger of interacting with Ukrainian refugees. How in the world you gonna be scared of the white folks you fighting in Europe to where you flee to America and get to America and try to start a fight with black volunteers who are trying to help your pale behinds? This is the anti-black racism we talking about. So we spending $100 billion on these folk, bringing them here to America while we're deporting Haitians. Talking about building a wall to keep Latinos out, but we're making all kinds of exceptions to keep Ukrainian refugees in the country, knowing full well that they're violent and racist against black people. This kind of stuff that makes your head spin. Crazy. The Hard Black. You got the mic. Hard Black Truth. Let's go. 413-736-2781 is the number here. Hard Black Truth, unmute.
Hey, good morning there, Bishop.
Good morning.
I appreciate the space.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I just wanted to chime in. I really do appreciate this space. The biggest issue I see when it comes to dominant white society is they've become real adept at being able to magnify whatever flaws they see from other outside societies. So when it comes to black folks, yeah, of course, and they're gonna keep the mic on us, the magnifying glass on us, because it benefits them to be able to juxtapose, whatever nonsense they could find out of black society and try to shine it up and pretend that that's not coming from them. When in fact,
all they really do at the end of the day is go someplace, stir up, diss up, confuse, and pit people against one another. That's their MO. And I just have to say that and appreciate the space. I just leave it at that.
All right. Appreciate you, brother. 413-736-2781. We're talking about the black violence lie. The narrative that continues to be spewed all over America, not just on social media. This lie gets spewed in police departments, in courthouses, in corporate boardrooms, in churches. This narrative gets spewed in circles all over America that justifies in the minds of the dominant community the brutalization of black bodies. And they don't really care that it's not true. They just want to have a justification of what they do to us. Straight no chaser, you got the microphone.
Good morning, Bishop.
Good morning.
I think his name is Terrain. I have to say that I most definitely agree with him that these young minds, we got to come up with another word to describe these white supremacists, because ain't nothing supreme about them. They're supreme only in their dreams. So I agree with him 100% on that.
Yeah.
And also, just like you said, especially these GOPs, I call them a group of perverts, because these tested molesters be out there raping their own kids and are convicted of it, raping young boys, pages and stuff that are in the political realm. There's over, I posted maybe about 46 of them so far, but there's over 800 convictions of these people doing that tested molester stuff. And also in that memo you was talking about for Ukraine, they also put in there that you could be subjected to be called the N-word with the hard ER.
Right. And think about it. This is the Peace Corps putting out a warning to its black volunteers that, hey, you know, we're helping out these Ukrainians who are running. They're running from a fight with other white people in Ukraine, but they'll come here to America and pick a fight with black volunteers. I mean, how crazy is that?
Right. I'll dock my vote.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your input. Let me get my man Untouchable Jay in the space. Jay, you got the mic? I got to let at least one cue.
Brother Bishop, good morning, sir.
Yeah, I got to let at least one cue up on the stage.
Oh, you definitely need the bros in there, Rudy Roo. Great broadcast as always. I'll keep it short. The social media aspect, what I see a lot is there's two pages I follow that I consistently blast because they're run by two white guys in Canada. And they make sure consistently they show the most degrading videos of us. They show the Walmart kids thing that's going on, you know, the Philadelphia situation that has been arising where kids have been looting en masse. And riddled through the comment section is just white people, you know, they always have to have a scapegoat in this. But every time somebody wins the Stanley Cup in that city, white people are going ham, destroying buildings, destroying 100 on both sides. And one thing I say to is I try to say to my son and youth, we need to start coming up with a different word for racism in a sense where white people are always saying, they'll say the N-word, they'll say this, and they try to equate what we went through 400 years of chattel slavery and post-chattel slavery and equate it as the same as a white person calling them out of name.
Right.
And I try to tell them, you had an entire system. Black people couldn't vote, we couldn't read, we couldn't marry, we couldn't decide when to have a child, we couldn't decide where we needed to live. Me calling you a cracker is not the same thing. Now, morally, I teach my children not to do it, but it is not the same. And white people always use that trope. Well, you know, you guys call us a C word. It's like, okay, when you had an entire system where we couldn't control our lives. Thank you for the broadcast. I'll land there.
All right. Absolutely true. That's just more gaslighting that they do. When people, they often do it online. They say, I'm the Black David Duke. We're as bad as the KKK. And I'd be like, okay, so when's the last time we lynched white folks on trees? When did I take my kids out to a picnic? That stood for pick a N-word. When did we hunt down a white dude, cut his testicles off and put it in a jar for a memento, burn the body, and roast marshmallows with our children over it? Because if you're talking about we equivalent with the KKK, this is the kind of stuff that they did. And you're equating being called a white supremacist, being called a racist, being called something that you don't like being called as equivalent of what the KKK did to terrorize black people. That's the kind of gaslighting that they do all the time, which is the exact same thing that they're doing with this so-called 1350 lie and this narrative that we are the inherently violent ones in America. It's consistently what they do. Knowledge Rise, you got the mic. 413-736-2781. Don Felton's coming up next with Mid-Morning Jazz, so don't y'all go nowhere. Knowledge, you got the mic.
Yeah, man. Am I coming through clear?
Yes.
All right, real quick, man. Y'all need to understand black on black crime makes people not think about the Holocaust being white on white crime. The opioid crisis, the pills coming from the CVS, Rite Aid, those were white pharmaceutical companies being sold to white people. The highest rate of drinking and driving deaths, white people. Arson, white people. Remember Waco, Texas? All white people. Jim Jones, white man that got all those people down in Jonestown, black people included, but when they came down on him, he killed a white senator and his white friends, then killed him white self and black women and children. Ted Bundy, John Wayne Gacy, white men, white victims. Now, there's something I want all y'all to research. There's something called the Bishop Accountability for the Catholic priest who molested all those kids. Get a pen and paper. Go through there. Hundreds of white men that got away, never even was questioned by the police. All white kids. Last but not least, how are we going to protect our community when we're not protecting the protectors? Right now, there are black fathers in these family courts all across the country trying to get custody of their kids, and they're being told no by white judges. Yet, when you look at the prison population, who makes up the majority? Black males that did not have their fathers. Think about that. God bless y'all.
All right. Appreciate you, brother. The doors of the church are open. Doors of the church are open. Listen, y'all gotta tune in on Monday. We'll continue the conversation on the spoken word on Monday. I got to move out your way. Listen, if you're in the 413, you're looking for a place to worship, check us out at the Spring of Hope Church of God in Christ, 35 Alden Street, Springfield, Massachusetts. The Brick Church right there at 6 Corners. Prayer, praise, and preaching, 11 o'clock a.m. We're building better tomorrows by changing lives today. Don Felton is up next with Mid-Morning Jazz. Great black music. Don't touch the dial. Till the next time I talk to you and you talk to me, always remember God loves you, and so do I. Peace and blessings. Have a great weekend.